Hello, I want to tell you about 5 pieces of tech that improved my life. I'm sorry, I have to go like that because apparently if you don't go like that, then nobody knows what you're talking about. And let's face it, if it doesn't improve things, then it's not worth having, is it? So I'm going to give you a true real-life narrative of what happened to me over the last 14 years. I'll try and keep it short, the life bits, and how the tech slotted into those periods, and of course, how it improved my life. And I'll give you some examples of how it could improve your life too. Let's get started. And we are in. So at the age of 41, we'll skip over the first 41 years, I made a massive change in my life. I've been a primary school teacher for 20 plus years, teaching children roughly from the age of 7 to 11. But one afternoon I literally walked out of school, never to step foot into a classroom again as a teacher. So I won't bore you with exactly what happened to get me to that point, but I will say it was one of, if not the only time in my life that I've actually acted on impulse rather than on logic. The result of my impulse was that I was left completely unemployed with a young family, personal loans, large mortgage to pay off, that kind of thing, you get the picture. So I had to make money fast, and the first thing I could think of was to teach, to tutor privately, which I did. I also set up a gardening business because I'd always been an enthusiast of gardening and I thought I could make some quick money. Which brings me to tech number 1. So this would have been around about the time of the very first smartphones. So as both of my fledgling businesses quickly developed, I realised the value of increasing my knowledge and skills in all sorts of areas pertaining to the businesses. So I think I was perhaps one of the very first podcast listeners. As a fledgling jobbing gardener who'd been previously used to brain work, I found that I could pass time much faster if I was engaged in learning while I was cutting grass, pruning a hedge, doing some weeding, that kind of thing. So I actually lapped up everything I could find on growing a business and marketing. In other words, getting new customers. So my first piece of tech is actually a service, that is the podcasting content delivering service via a smartphone app. And 14 years later, I'm still an avid listener to podcasts. Maybe I'll make a video of my favourites, so tell me in the comments if you'd like that. But even now, I'm still focused on those podcasts that'll actually teach me something. So when I'm working, I never actually listen to entertainment or music. Nowadays, my interests actually lie in YouTube, learning about YouTube, health, productivity, plants, and 1 or 2 other areas. So either if you've got time on your hands or like me, you actually regularly do some laborious task that doesn't actually take much thought. So for instance, gardening is one of them, cleaning, walking the dog, driving, that kind of thing, then you might find that podcasts are exactly what you've been looking for. So whenever you want to learn something, I can absolutely guarantee there will be something in the podcast universe out there for you. If you prefer a good laugh, well, you're covered there too. I strongly recommend them. So to listen to these podcasts, I found that in-ear headphones, you know, the ones that you shove down your ear canal, were actually quite irritating and uncomfortable. I've never liked those that you stick down your ear. So over-ear headphones actually made me too hot, so I couldn't use those. So I found that some that just sit outside the ear. Not many of those about actually, but they do allow you to hear both external sounds as well as those from the podcast. I found that if I was actually using some equipment, I could put some ear defenders over the top, so that worked really well. But they sit there really well, they don't fall off, and these are actually my third pair. I mean, maybe you're not aware that there are alternatives to those that you stick down your ear canal. There are comfy over-ear noise cancelling headphones, there are bone conducting headphones where the sound actually vibrates your skull. I did try some once actually when I was on holiday that you, and this is no word of a lie, that you chomp down on with your teeth, and you can go swimming underwater and you can hear music and whatever's being piped over them. Incredible. You've got to actually try them to believe them. So these were the ones that I stuck with anyway, that you just sit outside your ear. It's definitely worth hunting down a pair that suits your own circumstances and checking the reviews, of course. So on to tech number 3, and as an avid reader, I also found that I could actually learn loads of things from self-help books too, which is why the next item on my list is a Kindle Paperwhite with the backlit screen. Now I know that might not be too much of a surprise to people, but hear me out. So I do actually enjoy a physical book occasionally, but the convenience of being able to download new books coupled with the ability to highlight or find definitions for unfamiliar words is just too strong. So I always resort back to the Kindle. I'm sure many of you actually have one, but do you use its full functionality? For instance, you can actually connect your Kindle with various apps, allowing you to export highlights for saving somewhere else, which is really valuable if you're reading non-fiction, as you can actually then read the highlights over again at a later point and think about how to actually fit them into your life or how to make some actual actual changes rather than merely highlighting and then instantly forgetting, which is what I would do. So I actually export mine into a bit of software called Notion, and I regularly review them. And this was something I picked up from another YouTuber that some of you might know. So what we've got here is a 2022 Kindle. I believe the different models. I thought this was a Paperwhite, not entirely sure, but I think the different models do slightly different things, but there are some basics that you might not be familiar with. This might be absolutely obvious to you. You might use this all the time, but if you don't, and I have to say I didn't, this was something that was new to me. So I find this really, really useful. So I have a fictional book here, which probably isn't really what it's intended for. But if you have a non-fiction book, then I can see a really good use for this. So let's say there's a word, you don't know what it means. Everybody knows this bit, but I just want to show you something. So if you hold a word down, you can highlight it. We have obviously it gives you the definition there, and you can look it up on the internet for various things. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you want to as well. So you can highlight it and it just gives you a little highlight on top. Right, that's fine as it is, but what do you do with those highlights? Well, for most people, they probably just forget all about it afterwards. But you don't have to do that, because if you hold it down again, you get the same little menu here. You can click note and you can add a note. I'm not going to type anything out, but you can add whatever you want onto there, save it. Right, so it puts a little number there, a little number 1. Hope you can see that. Now if I click on that number 1, it takes me straight to the note, which I can edit, delete, or I can share it. So let's just go back again. Now if I want to highlight more than one, so let's say I want to highlight a paragraph, if I just hold it down on there and drag, and I can highlight a whole paragraph or however much of the page I want. Again, I can either share it or I can click on note. Again, we can type something in for that and save it. So we have a note with that little paragraph. Change that one to a 1 and that one to a 2 now, so that obviously they're in order. Okay, so what can we do with this? So let's say this is a self-help book and you find something that resonates with you or something that you want to implement into your life somewhere. You can then go to, so we need to click at the top here, and we need to go to, see these little lines? Again, it might be different on a different Kindle. Here we have all the different contents of the book, but where it says popular highlights, we can click on there and it'll show you everything that's been highlighted in the book already that other people have done. So we'll just go back off that. So that could be useful to you, again, if it's a textbook or something and so forth. So I want to go to all the notes that I've written. So I click this little, it's like a little binder here. And here it has my highlighted paragraph and my other note there. So again, useful as it is, just like that, but there we go. We can share the note from that one to an email that you'll have already put in there. It's already got my email associated with the account, and I can send it, and it will send me the name of the book and tell me all the details of the quote and where the quote is. But that's not all. So if we then go to the top again, click on these 3 dots at the corner, we can go to Vocabulary Builder. And in Vocabulary Builder, it will give you all the words that you've ever looked up. Now I've got 1,500 words there. I didn't realise that it was saving all these words that I'd looked up for future reference. No, I didn't look Anne up. I have been playing around with it, just having a go. So then you click flashcards at the bottom and it will tell you the name of the word that you've looked up, and you can read the definition there and you can test yourself. And if you've mastered it, I know what a miscreant is, you can mark it as mastered and you can reduce those words down to 0, and hopefully you can increase your vocabulary. I think there are a couple of really cool features, and I don't think the Amazon Kindle interface is that obvious. I don't think it's that intuitive. I mean, I've been using these things for years and years and years, and you know, from when they first came out, and I hadn't discovered these various things without making an effort to look into it myself. So I hope that's useful for somebody. So as time went by, the 2 businesses grew, and at one point I was actually tutoring 15 students a week during the late afternoon and evening, whilst also maintaining 7 gardens a day. So the natural progression was to enrol other tutors so that I didn't need to take on every client myself, thereby giving me the ability to scale up the tuition business. The gardening too had taken off and I found myself trying to run and work in both. So something had to give. I stopped tutoring myself and I focused instead on just the scaling it up part and carried on with the gardening. Which brings me to tech number 4. Now, as you can imagine, this still involved a rather large amount of organisation, which brings me to the next piece of tech. Both of them are apps actually. One is a to-do list app and the other is a digital calendar. On the task management app, I was actually able to make lists of gardening clients which tracked my clients, telling me who was due a visit and when. And on the calendar app, I created individual calendars for each tutor with calendar events for their tuition schedules. So this enabled me to see at a glance which tutor was teaching whom and at what time of the day. I still use these systems today, although the apps I use has actually changed many times. Currently I'm using the free Microsoft To Do and also the free Google Calendar. The great thing about To Do is that it's really simple and it does what I need it to do, like being able to separate the tasks into various categories. So I can actually keep my gardening clients separate from my personal tasks. I have it on 2 separate phones, on an iPad, on a computer, and it syncs seamlessly across them all. So wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, if I think of a task that needs to be done, and this is really key this, I can easily capture that information on the spot. I don't have to go searching for a notepad, pen, or worse, try to remember it, because I know I won't. Calendars are great for obvious reasons. You can plan out your week, but a great feature we use at home is the family calendar, which all 3 of my little family use to schedule events that we all need to know about. It's a terrific way to keep organised and actually avoid all sorts of confusion. We're using Google, but I'm sure Apple have a similar feature. So we move on to about 5 years ago now, where I actually started collecting and growing tropical plants. So by now I was used to working outside and I actually found it even more difficult being cooped up indoors during the cold and miserable off season. So to counteract this feeling, I bought a bigger greenhouse and began kitting it out with all the tech that maintains the particular environment that my plants like, which means controlling the temperature, the air movement, the lights, the humidity. Sure, I could have used a manual timer plug, but once you've experienced the convenience of a smart plug, there's no going back. Initially I thought I'd only ever need a couple of smart plugs, but now I find I've got at least 2 dozen working all sorts of tech that needs turning on and off according to a timer. It's really hard to beat the sheer convenience of being able to control this stuff at any time and from anywhere, literally in the world. So if any of these gadgets interest you, there are links in the description to a lot of those that I purchased, and they are affiliate links, so if you'd like to help me to continue with the channel, please use them, won't cost you any more. Now, we're roughly only about halfway through my life story for the past 14 years, and I've only told you half of the tech that have slotted into that period of my life. So to find out about the other 5 bits of tech that changed my life and how they slotted into that story, keep your eyes peeled for 5 more pieces of tech that massively changed my life. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of my choices and whether any of it is news to you, and which technology has changed your life. And of course, if the video on 5 more pieces of tech isn't actually out yet, maybe you're looking to save cash with extra installation, this video up here will show you the best method I've found to keep the heat inside so far anyway, and therefore save cash. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.